Hello. Hello. It's so good to have you with us here today at Unity of Merced. I am Reverend Twyla Reece, and I am here with Ed Bennis, who is the music director for Unity of Merced. When we are meeting in person, we meet at 305 West 26th Street, Merced, California at 10:30 on Sunday mornings. But we're coming to you here virtually right now. And I also want to share with you that if you feel like you want to donate, to share, to give to Unity of Merced and our spiritual ministry, know that you'll find that description on how to do that in the notes, both on YouTube and on Facebook. We welcome your loving gifts to share and expand the universal teachings of truth. So as we begin, today, I want to first read to you today's daily word from Unity's Daily Word magazine. And I'm reading the piece for Saturday, September 12th, because it goes so well with my message today. Relax. I relax and find peace. Relaxation is essential to my spiritual practice. When I take time to relax, my prayer time is serene as I access my inner wisdom and guidance with ease. I begin by relaxing my body with some cleansing breaths and gentle stretches. I feel my heartbeat slow and my breathing becomes deep. Next, I relax my mind, releasing any repetitive or unforgiving thoughts. As I relax, I create fertile ground for my affirmations to fill my consciousness and touch my heart. As I go about my day, my perception of the world around me has shifted because I now move through life in a receptive, relaxed state. I look beyond outer appearances and perceive God in every person and in all circumstance. And from Matthew chapter 11, verse 29, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Today's word is relax. And now I would like for you to take a moment as we continue this contemplative part of the service and open your heart to love. I invite you to just come into the awareness of your body and to feel your breath, to let go of any thoughts that maybe you've been carrying with you all day, and allow your mind to still. Come into the awareness of the beating of your heart and breathe deeply from that deep, sacred place of love. And allow your heartbeat to synchronize itself with the heartbeat of the universe, becoming consciously aware and allowing for that opening, for that expansion of your heart and mind, your body and soul, all that is within and around you, and open to the God of your understanding. And just breathe into that place for a moment. I like to stay in that moment myself until I can feel what I call my holy smile. And it transforms my being, and I invite you to feel that as well. To find your holy smile and to give thanks for all of the good that is around you. As you awaken in body, mind, and spirit, and allow your consciousness to expand. And for that, we do give thanks. And for this, we do give thanks for Ed Bennis, as he shares with us one of the songs that he wrote this week. Take it away, Ed.
Thank you, Twyla. Well, this has been an interesting week, and a lot of our thoughts, of course, are on the fight, and we still are dealing with the coronavirus. But I was reading something that Terry Cole Whitaker wrote, and this song came out of it. I hope you like this. You might catch it, it's going around, it spreads to everyone, every town, and a cure will not be found, 'cause consciousness is contagious. What you think is invisibly shared, reaching every heart, no one is spared. There's no vaccine, so be prepared, 'cause our consciousness is contagious. So choose your thoughts carefully and be mindfully kind. And if you start feeling blue, the antidote is in mind. Don't be worried, no need to reach for gloves. Once you're infected, just treat with love. Cause and cure, I'm sure of. Consciousness is contagious. So choose your thoughts carefully and be mindfully kind. And if you start feeling blue, the antidote is in mind. Don't be worried, no need for gloves. Once you're infected, just treat with love. Cause and cure, I'm sure of. Consciousness is contagious.
I love that consciousness.
Did Bella join in with me there?
Oh my gosh. Say hi, everybody. This is my Bella. You gonna behave? Somebody must have been walking by the backyard. I thought I had everything all Bella-proofed. You never know.
Never know.
But that was a wonderful song, Ed, except for the little interruption. I think Bella was expanding her consciousness.
Okay.
Oh, consciousness. So what is consciousness? Consciousness is, according to Unity teachings, it's the total sum of all of our thoughts. It's the sum of our thinking, even when it may be thoughts that we don't know that we're thinking, right? We have a lot of subconscious thoughts, a lot of unconscious thoughts, things that work in our mind that are creating our reality that we don't know of. So consciousness is contagious. I love that. I love that thought, Ed, because we get to choose what it is that we're passing around in the world.
Exactly.
Right? We can either be passing around negative thoughts and feelings and behaviors, or we can be sharing positive thoughts, uplifting thoughts, thoughts of love. In our world right now, there's just so much going on. I say this every week, but it continues to be true. And I'm not going to go through the list. I'm not, although my mind is going through the list. And right now, here on the West Coast, we are just being inundated by fires. And they're horrific. And they're, oh my goodness. So much life and property is being lost. Everyone's being affected by smoke. A couple of weeks ago, I had family here staying with me who evacuated from one of the fires. They're home now. But the fires are frightening. And the fires are cleansing. Consciousness is contagious. Now, it's not saying that I believe that these wildfires are a good thing. And yet, even in this, we can find good. Does that make sense? I am not saying hip, hip, hooray for the fires. But I am allowing for the overall working of divine order in the universe to help us find a place that we can recognize some good. There's always some good to be seen. I know for some of you right now that may feel like a stretch. And how can I tell you that and feel like I'm telling you the truth? Because for me, I have experienced such things. Through some of my darkest hours, I have been able to see places where I have learned, where I have grown, where I have been able to let go of something in my life and allowed for something greater to come in. So again, I don't want you to hear that. How do I say this? I don't want you to hear that I think the fires are good. I don't want you to think that I'm saying that coronavirus is good and that racial division is good and that political division is good. All of these things are actually very painful and very impactful. And yet, if we, as a human race, can allow for our hearts and our minds to expand, to soften with all of the difficulty that is going on, there is an expansion within the universal race consciousness. So what is race consciousness? We talk about race consciousness as the mass consciousness of the universe. In New Thought teachings, and not only in New Thought teachings, beyond, and when I say New Thought teachings, I'm talking about Unity and Centers for Spiritual Living and other truth teachings that teach the ancient sacred teachings of the world that go back thousands and thousands of years. We say New Thought, there's nothing new about it. But when these first started coming into consciousness, it was a new way of thinking at that time. So when we can allow our hearts and our minds to soften, then we can align with the greater unfolding of the universe. And I can speak a little bit more about that another time. I was listening to an interview with Greg Braden. And if you don't know Greg Braden's work, I invite you to look him up and read his books and watch his, you can find him all over the place on YouTube. Greg, spelled with two G's, Gregg, Braden. But as I was listening to this interview this week, he talked about the convergence of natural rhythms and cycles. He was talking about life science, that we need to take our bodies off of autopilot. Take our bodies off of autopilot and stop, take a breath, let go of our staunch belief systems, and become a little more malleable, become a lot more malleable. It is in resistance that the pain exists. Now, that doesn't mean that we just stop doing whatever work you are doing out in the world in the cause of humanity. I am one that believes deeply in taking care of each other. I think I was going a moment ago talking about race consciousness and how that affects mass consciousness. In the teachings of New Thought, we talk about one mind, divine mind. That's another word that is often used for God. And that we are all one heartbeat. We are so completely connected to each other that there is only oneness. And you'll hear that a lot. Now, many of you that are watching this, that's not a new concept. But we are part of that great ocean of God. Even if you take a teaspoon of water out of the ocean, you are still in that teaspoon of water. Even if you pour that into the sand, the molecules are still part of that ocean of God. Does that make sense? Even though you may feel like you are totally and completely alone, you are not. Whenever you may come to that place where you feel so very alone, I encourage you, I invite you to just take a breath. Find a way to take a breath. And feel your heartbeat. And I know for some, there may be moments, that's hard to say quickly, but there may be moments that you feel so alone that you can't get there. But I encourage you to make the best effort you can. Allow for that holy smile to come over you and allow that universal flow to come into your awareness. We want to expand consciousness. So I am taking a lot of my talk notes from this talk from Eric Butterworth, who was a Unity minister, and he wrote a book called Spiritual Economics. Spiritual economics. So let me just segue a tiny bit to economics. What is economics? Well, we think of economics as money. Economics majors and poli-sci majors and business majors and, the deep study of economics. But what is it? Merriam-Webster calls it a social science. Were you aware of that? It's a social science. And it's concerned with the description and analysis of the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Economics, a social science. So let's switch that around from social science to spiritual science, spiritual economics. Is it not also about the production, distribution, the consumption of material goods and services? It's really the same thing. only with a little different focus and bent on it. Spiritual economics is not about money, it's about knowing more of God. So it's not about getting more money or having more money. However, when you start clearing out those cobwebs of resistance and fear, and you allow for the spiritual economics, the knowing more of God, then life automatically opens up and more good starts flowing to you. Can you see how that works? Because we get out of resistance. We start changing our mind. Prosperity is a way of living and thinking. Prosperity is consciousness, spiritual well-being. It is a way of life, of love, peace, and harmony. Now, doesn't that sound like a whole lot more fun than living in fear and resentment and whatever negativity you're filling your body with? And again, I'm not saying that you won't feel what we consider to be negative thoughts. I'm not saying that those won't come up. But as you grow in that spiritual consciousness, you come to realize that you have a choice in how you allow those thoughts and feelings to take hold in your body. And to remember that you are always at choice on what is going to rule the makeup of what's going on around you. You may not always be able to control what's going on around you, but you can always control how you show up with it. Are you going to make it worse or are you going to make it better? Are you going to be in resistance? Or are you going to be in allowing? So I wanted to share this thought with you from Eric Butterworth. As we increase in consciousness, we increase in faith. As we increase in faith, we increase in consciousness, right? It's about increase, increasing the good, increasing the consciousness. Friedrich Nietzsche said, I was in darkness, but I took 3 steps and found myself in paradise. The first step was a good thought. The second, a good word. And the third, a good deed. We can change our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors. And that allows more and more good, more and more knowing more of God to flow into our life. It increases our spiritual economics. So if you can believe, can you believe? Eric Butterworth also says that when you believe that you can do something, then the how to do it will develop and unfold. When you believe, then the how will show up. So I want to share with you a story that Eric Butterworth shares in his book, Spiritual Economics. And he's talking about Saint I can never say this correctly the first time, Exupéry. Saint Exupéry was an author who wrote, as many of you know, The Little Prince. But he shares this story from Exupéry's book, Wind, Sand, and Stars. And he tells the story of a pilot who was downed in the rugged, snow-blocked region of the Andes. He trudged through the snow for days, only to find his way hopelessly blocked by a huge crevice. And he quickly concluded that he had 3 choices. He had been walking for days, he was tired, he was trying to find his way out. So He concluded that his choices were he could give up and die of exposure. He could make an attempt to jump across the crevasse, knowing full well that it was impossible to do so. Or he could convince himself that he could jump across and make an attempt out of that conviction. Let me say that third choice again. He could convince himself that he could jump. He could convince himself, even though everything around him looked like there was no way he could make that jump, but that he could convince himself that he could, and then make that attempt out of the conviction of his belief, out of that conviction of his awareness and consciousness. So he backed away a few yards and he closed his eyes for a moment of inner communion, and then loudly shouting, I can, he ran and jumped, and he did it. With barely any space, he reached the safety to the other side. And then he trudged off down the mountain. He was found and he was saved. But he knew that he had those three choices. He could just give up and die. He could try jumping, knowing that he wouldn't make it, or he could change his mind. And he chose to change his mind. Are you willing to change your mind? Are you willing to change your mind? Can you believe that you can do it differently? Can you believe that you can do it differently? Now, here's a question that I have for you. What if, these are the what ifs. What if you failed? What if this pilot had come into that knowingness, into that conviction that he could make it, and he jumped the crevasse and he didn't make it, and he failed, and he fell to the bottom and he died? What if that happened? Did he fail? I say that he didn't. I say that he didn't fail. I say that God just showed up in a different way in his life. That's what I think. How many times have you done something and it didn't work out for you? So what if you changed your thinking and it still didn't work? What if you affirmed and affirmed and affirmed and your life still didn't change? What if you were ill and you prayed and you surrendered and you still didn't get well? What if a loved one or a friend was ill and you prayed for their healing and they still didn't heal and they died? Were your prayers not answered? I say, yes, they were. Because we cannot always see what was going on with the larger picture of what healing is. Are you with me on that? Can you see that and feel that? Healing and success come in many forms. Sometimes it looks like God has said no, when God is actually saying yes. Only the yes is showing up in a different way than what you thought you wanted and what you really dearly wanted, right? Sometimes our prayers are answered with yes, but not yet. Right? Sometimes our prayers are answered with just not yet. Not in the way that you're looking at it, not in the way that you're thinking. There are no failures, there are only increments of growth. We can gain spiritual insight in every circumstance. We just have to be willing to surrender, to allow for an open heart and for an open flow. A friend of mine likes to say, when you don't physically heal the physical, it is still a healing. Let me say that again. When you don't physically heal the physical, it's still a healing. Because the physical is not your real self. Okay? There is more to life in the cosmic sense than just this physical body that we walk around in. We are spiritual beings. We are spiritual beings. There is so much more to know. There is so much more to life. So when we don't physically heal, it's still a healing, because the universal consciousness is still at work. And there's still always a yes, even when all we feel that we see is a no. Even when we pray for rain and the rain doesn't come in the time that we want it, there is still a healing that is going on. And what I know for sure in all of this, that when this is going on, we open our hearts and our minds and we share our condolences with those that are deeply hurting during these times. We allow ourselves to come from a place of love and empathy and holding on to the truth that there is a universal healing that is going on. So I invite you to become innocent as a child. And I want to share with you two stories. One is a story that I remembered about one of my grandsons. And when he was around 2 years old, I don't know if he had turned 2 yet, but I was taking care of him, and I had him in his car seat in the back seat of the car. We got home, and I unbuckled him from his car seat. And normally he would just sit there and wait for me to pick him up and help him out of the car, carry him, or take him by the hand and walk him into the house. I unbuckled his car seat, and while I was gathering his diaper bag and my purse and his toys and getting all of the stuff that you carry with you when you have a small child, I took my eyes off of him, and all of a sudden, he was in the front seat. He was safe. He was in the front seat, and he was saying, "Ha ha." It was the first time that he had learned that he could climb down. He couldn't unbuckle himself yet, that came later, but he could climb down out of his car seat and hop into the front seat where he was never allowed to be. But he found a way. And I can still hear that, ha ha, that innocence, that celebration of learning something new, of expanding consciousness, right? And then my friend shared a story with me, and her grandson, her great grandson, and she was sharing with me how Ellis was learning how to walk. And you know how it works, right? how babies learn how to walk. He would get up and he would try and take a step and he would fall down. He'd get back up and he would try and take a step and he would fall down. Failure, 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 right? No. Learning, learning, learning is what was going on. And finally, on this one particular day, as he kept trying and falling down, trying and falling down, all of a sudden it worked. And he was walking and he just started laughing because he had one more time that aha moment. His consciousness expanded in that moment. And he just laughed and laughed. And the whole family laughed with him. We stay patient. We expand our belief. And we come from a place of innocence. Consciousness is contagious. Yeah, it is. So whatever is going on in your life, no matter how amazingly wonderful it is, go for the gold and invite more amazing wonderfulness in. Keep saying yes, yes, yes. Keep saying yes to the universe, and there will be more yeses that will come into your life. So thank you for being with us today. Somewhere along the line in my talk, we lost Ed, and he is sitting in the waiting room right now, waiting for me to let him come back in. So thank you for being here. And let me see if I can find Ed. Here he comes. Hi there. Can you hear us? We can see you. Oh, you're muted, Ed. Ed, I can't hear you. You need to unmute. Ed. Let me see if I can get him to unmute. We're having some technical difficulties. He's trying to talk to me. Let me ask him to unmute. Don't you just love technology? Oh my goodness. Oh, we're going to make it. Hold in there with us. Internets can be, and technology can be a little dicey sometimes. Are you there? Ed, are you with us? Now he's frozen. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? Since we're not able to get him on here, I am going to go ahead. Are you there? Nope, he's still not there. So Ed, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, and then you and I will come back on, and I want to record your song and I'll upload it separately. How about that? Okay, so you guys watch out for 2 videos, okay? Because I really want to hear the second song that Ed wrote. But let me go ahead and pray us out right now. What did I say? When you believe, if you can believe, can you believe that there is greater good waiting for you and for each of us? And so we give thanks for all the good that we have. And we pray that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us wherever we are wherever each and every person on the planet is, where every essential worker is, wherever every firefighter is, wherever every person who is ill or in danger is. God is there, and there is love, and so it is. We're going to finish this up and then record the song. See you for now.